Trump just flew to China where he's meeting President Xi. Everyone thinks this is the beginning of their alliance, but in reality, they've been working together with Trump for quite a while. That's what we're going to talk about in this clip.
Through Venezuela and Iran, China, which depends on illicit oil at cheaper rates from both, watch that go away. And yet they stay on the sidelines. So that's what indicates to me that they stayed on the sidelines, indicates to me a lot of coordination between Beijing, likely Moscow, and the United States. And I think that when President Trump goes to Beijing, we'll hear about great business deals and everything will be lovely and eagles and panda bears hugging each other. It'll be really something to behold. But what you won't get is the real readout of deal making and agreement about how the next phases of sovereigntists versus globalists world goes. And I do think, as you read our national security strategy, recognizing spheres of influence, Russia, China, the ARC identity. This is what the war looks like to me. And there are things that only she and only President Trump can say without electronics around them. And it's time that they had a meeting. And so I think you're going to see quite a few developments and milestones in the days and weeks ahead after their meeting.
Andrew, what do
Well,
you
I,
think?
I agree with Blaine. I would add that with President Trump's assault and control now of Venezuela, he also got evidence that was very useful for him of election fraud and how it was done. And I think that's going to play out in domestic politics in UK, in America, and in Europe, because I think we've been sharing best practice for quite a while over here. Yeah, but the question is: are we heading for a multipolar world, or is America going to remain omnipotent? And the fact that both President Putin and President Xi have kept pretty quiet, well, totally quiet about really Venezuela, and then again less active than you'd have thought over Iran, seems that perhaps predictions of a multipolar world are somewhat exaggerated. And I'd be very interested in what Blaine thinks about that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they are exaggerated. But let's look at the monetary policies that are surrounding all of this. You've got Iran, which was supposed to be figuring nicely into the construct of the BRICS eventually, and President Trump made those statements right at the beginning of his presidency, which I thought was a big strategic intonation that we're not going to put up with a world where the BRICS try to obviate the US dollar. We're just not going to do that. And it's really in these macroeconomic statements, these macroeconomic policies, Scott Bessent rolling up no less than 7 banks for their role in laundering with the drug cartels and with the IRGC, funding those proxies in Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas. He put a stop to that, but all roads lead back to London in every single case. Every single case. And the intelligence agencies, the vaunted Five Eyes, all with their fingerprints all over everything from the United States into London, into Tel Aviv, right on into the IRGC. The veil is coming up because we can see the actions that standing by themselves would not normally make a whole lot of sense. We don't have vital interests in the Persian Gulf as a nation per
No.
se. We but Europe and the UK certainly do, and they did not run to the gunfire, we didn't see the Belgian deminers show up. The Dutch frigates did not float. In fact, we got the opposite. We got the treatment of Lloyd's of London in its first time in its 337-year history,
Withdrawing the insurance cover.
withdrawing the insurance, locking up the straits, and then NATO saying you're not going to use these bases that you fought for with blood in World War II. You're and you're not going to use Diego Garcia and you're not going to use Glasgow. They would unless they were desperate, they would never let the camouflage off of this deeply flawed relationship fall away that blaringly. And I do think it has a lot to do with this globalist vision and dream of the globalists moving to checkmate. This was the year on the way to 2030 that they had intoned and intended to close the deal with technology and put the collar around freedom-loving peoples. And you cannot do that without collaring the United States and bringing it to heel. And so the fly in the ointment is the bull that brings his own China shop, and that's Donald Trump and his policies. But what I think is amazing, and I want Andrew's comment on this, is on this economic warfare journey, look at the social media connections between that and the futures markets in oil. First off, him and Bessent with their actions have stabilized the futures markets, not the spot prices. But what I find really amazing is you have in trend lines algorithmic self autonomous trading schemes for all of the private equity houses around the world. And at the first sign of trouble in the Persian Gulf, they'll go long oil. If it looks like things are going to get resolved, they go short oil. And what President Trump is he is obviously, you can see the patterns. He every time it looks like oil's about to go long, he gets out there with social media and says, "You know what? I think we're going to work it out with the Iranians." And then billions upon billions of dollars are lost by these globalist houses. And then it whipsaws the other way. The algos start buying off on shorts, and they're going to short the market because peace is breaking out all over the place. And then you see these people are crazy. We're never going to work with them, and they're never having a nuclear weapon, and I'm locking up the straits even more. And billions are lost the other way. They are getting bludgeoned. And it's fun to watch, but I will also say, as a military guy, and I'll close here, the enemy always gets a vote, and it looks like they are voting. And I would look at the financial markets, Hanta, Lone Star ticks here in the United States, and all the other things that they can bring to bear with their little institutions.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, I think the globalists financially probably are having a bit of a bloody nose at time, but they still have immense,
Oh, they're well
immense
heeled.
power, immense power and influence around the world. And of course, I mean, they can also bring the whole banking system down anyway, anytime they want to.
True.
Um,
And I think they will.
I think they will. A few banking insiders said we should be very careful around October time this year.
Yeah.
They won't want it during the summer. The bankers have got to have their holidays. They work so
Just
hard.
before the American midterms.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this video, you can find the whole clip right here. And don't forget to sign up for my free newsletter. Links in the description below.